Professor Mark Sutton is an environmental physicist at the UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology in Edinburgh, honorary professor at the University of Edinburgh, and director of INMS, a targeted research approach for improving understanding of the global nitrogen cycle towards the establishment of an international nitrogen management system. As a global expert and driving force to put nitrogen on the agenda, we're happy to welcome him to this chat about our favorite subject, nitrogen.
Thank you.
And first of all, why is nitrogen on the agenda?
I think it's fair to say that nitrogen should have been on the agenda a long time ago, but it's only now coming on the agenda. And the reason we're really excited about it is because it's linking up so many different challenges across the world. The nitrogen cycle is linking to air pollution, climate change, water pollution, biodiversity, livelihoods, economy, everything. And so if we pull the nitrogen cycle together, there's an opportunity to have a hit on all those issues.
You mentioned greenhouse gases or climate change in this, but nitrogen isn't a climate gas, is it?
Okay, so that takes us to the next thing, is that when we breathe in, 78% nitrogen as N2 gas. So that's completely inert, doing not much, makes the sky blue. But if we convert that into different forms, all those nitrogen compounds have different effects. And one of those compounds is laughing gas, nitrous oxide, N2, and that's a greenhouse gas that's 300 times more carbon dioxide.
Okay, I understand. Well, you mentioned it briefly, but the connection between nitrogen and pollution. I've heard about nitrates and eutrophication. Is there any other areas around the pollution that nitrogen is kind of responsible for?
Yeah, so we've mentioned climate and nitrous oxide. You've mentioned the water pollution and nitrate. The big next one on the list is the ammonia, NH3. And the main source of that in Europe, at least, is evaporation from livestock excreta, from manure and from urine, as well as from fertilizers. And that's the atmosphere reacting to form fine particulate matter, contributing with other gases, which is, of course, a threat to human health. And once it falls out of the atmosphere, coming and landing on ecosystems and damaging ecosystems, which are not normally used to these high levels of nitrogen compounds.
Okay, so you mentioned this as well, specifically in Europe, but is it mostly in Europe that is the problem with the ammonia and air pollution?
No, it's clear that ammonia is a global issue. It's highly regional specific because the livestock fertilizer sources are highly regional specific. But if you're outside of Europe, you get, for example, a much more contribution from urea fertilizers than in Europe. The reason for that is that in Europe, 90% of people are using ammonium nitrate, which is much lower ammonia emission. In the rest of the world, with more urea, much higher emissions. The other thing is, of course, there's other sources too. Humans, cities, driving your car will emit some ammonia, and biomass burning. The forest is burnt and starts smoldering at the end. That's also emitting ammonia. So while in Europe it's livestock and then fertilizers, different parts of the world, there's a different profile of soil.
Okay, thank you. I think I've heard you talk about the nitrogen challenge. Is that encompasses all of these things, or is it a specific kind of program?
No, I would say the nitrogen challenge is the very idea that we need to bring all these things together. So if you look at science or you look at particular policies, we've over the years, over the centuries, tended to specialize. That's great. We got out of the Stone Age by specializing. But if you think about nitrogen, that means we fragmented all our issues. So there's a bit of nitrogen in air pollution, a bit of nitrogen in water pollution, a bit in climate. And by fragmenting, we've really weakened the global response. So the nitrogen challenge, I would say, bring all those issues together, bring it together with the health, the environment, the benefits, and bring it together with the economy where nitrogen is really, really valuable. And by bringing together, getting the gravity of common cause that's going to mobilize change.
Understand. Okay, so when we add the nitrogen, does that mean that it's sort of recycled and just fed into the food cycle, or is the pollution and the nitrogen losses not retrievable? Do you have an aspect on that?
Yes. So I think the key thing to say is it's not just food production. Nitrogen oxides coming from cars, from fossil fuel burning. So when you drive your car, if it's got a petrol or diesel engine, it will be emitting nitrogen oxides. There's another form of nitrogen, NOx. That nitrogen oxides is contributing up to air pollution and forming ground level ozone pollution as well. So there's multiple sources. But if you think about how much of that NOx we're emitting in the air, are we recovering? Well, the answer is not. We're not. It's going to the atmosphere. It's coming back down on forests and ecosystems. It's not really being used. And in the farming system, if we look at the entire nitrogen that goes into the world farming system, you get something like about 20% ends up on your plate as food, nitrogen in food. So the system is something like 20% efficient. That means 80% of it is lost as pollution to the environment. So that's really not a good thing. The then is to say we don't send out there as pollution. We want to learn to recycle it. That means that we could then put less fresh inputs into the system.
So last point, how do you, and this is not related to nitrogen, it's more on a personal side. How do you cope with being restricted from traveling? I believe you are a globetrotter.
That's a very nice question. I would say that I am a great success story from COVID, or put another way, a beneficiary of COVID at the moment, because so far I haven't caught it. But it means that I'm traveling less, and I'm very happy about traveling less and doing more Zoom. So it's a great thing. We will obviously have to meet again with lots more meetings, but for the moment, I'm, let's say, taking the opportunity of less meetings while I can get it.
I understand. Yeah, no, I understand that that's very positive. I would guess. Okay. Okay, Mr. Sutton. Thank you very much. I think we have gotten a much better understanding of this as a global problem and something that affects all of us, and that everybody should have it on their mind.
Thanks very much.